And when I spoke to the veterans of the British veterans who were rescued, they all said they wanted their story to be remembered, and they wanted the story of the Chinese fishermen to be remembered because they saved their lives. So there was they never forgot the risks that the Chinese people took to save them.
就是心情很沉重吧。最触动我的就是他们英国的那些后代在说他们的父亲是怎样，就是在那场战争之后，在被囚禁之后，就是他们的一种 PTSD 的症状，我觉得特别让人觉得很揪心。
虽然说我们可能每个人的国家不一样，立场不一样，但是战争的话，它就是会带来很多的就是家庭的残破，以及这个人员的伤亡，就是亲人的之间这些两地或者说阴阳两隔这种情况，就是世界上可以更少一些战争。
So you have the story being told not by the veterans but by their families. And that gives it an emotional depth which no book could ever recreate. So I think it works really, really well. It was a relay. I did my bit. I threw the torch to Fang Li and he carried on and continued running down the road. And what he created is an emotionally powerful film. Originally, of course, the book was written in English and it was aimed at an English audience. And although it was for sale in Hong Kong, it sold some copies, but not a lot. I'm really hoping that the Chinese version will be more popular, more approachable for people in Hong Kong. And I very much like that because so many people in Hong Kong don't know the story of Lisbon Maru. And yet really it's a Hong Kong story. It started in Hong Kong. Obviously there's a Hong Kong element, the Jiaoshan element, and then the Japanese element. But I really think it would be great if more people in Hong Kong could read the book and understand what happened. I come from a small fishing village in the UK. I was brought up in a small fishing village. And there we have a lifeboat. And the lifeboat is crewed by our fishermen. And they're all volunteers. And they go out when they have to, and they rescue people from the beach, or they rescue people from a sinking ship. It's their job. They're volunteers, but it's still their job. In Jiaoshan, they didn't have lifeboats. And it wasn't their job. And the Japanese were an enemy. And yet they still sailed out from Jiaoshan and rescued the British prisoners of war, who they knew nothing about, even though the Japanese were shooting at the Chinese fishermen in the water. That was not only a very courageous thing to do, it was almost unbelievable that they would take such a huge risk to rescue people who had nothing to do with them. And when I spoke to the veterans of the British veterans who were rescued, they all said they wanted their story to be remembered, and they wanted the story of the Chinese fishermen to be remembered because they saved their lives. So there was they never forgot the risks that the Chinese people took to save them.
所以当看到他们在反抗的时候，或者是在看到渔民拯救他们的时候，真觉得就是人类的勇气的赞歌。但觉得虽然战争那个时代至少在中国来说离我们已经远去了，但是至少在书本知识当中以及从小教育当中，我觉得我们没有忘记这个事情。毕竟这个时代也不是完全和平的时代，所以我觉得大家对于战争的感知以及对于反战的这个意愿是非常强烈的。
因为我之前有去澳洲，然后跟一波日本同学一起上课，然后我当时还很年轻，我就问他们，我说你们知道那个侵华战争吗？然后他们就会把整个叙述变成中日战争，然后就是他们了解的很少，就是可能有的人知道一点，但有的人就是其实完全不知道，就知道这件事情，但是从他们国内的 叙述来说的话，是认为是一个两国的平等的一种交战，而不是说一个国家入侵另一个国家。然后你可能跟他们講什麼731啊什麼，他們就完全不知道。我覺得這件事情還蠻離譜的。
其實唔係要慶祝勝利，我覺得係要喚起民眾對於呢種戰爭嘅呢種警惕，即係以史為鑑啊嘛，係咪？即係咁其實咧呢套戲，我覺得最珍貴嘅之處咧，其實係幫我哋香港亦都彌補咗呢一段嘅歷史，係嘛？咁你見其實亦都當然亦都係突顯咗我哋即係中國嘅漁民同埋中國漁民嘅呢種英勇嘅行為啦，同埋就係我哋其實喺呢個抗日戰爭呢一段史實入邊，其實我哋中國都其實係付出咗好大嘅一啲犧牲啦，係嘛？同埋我哋嘅貢獻，我覺得其實係呢一啲都其實係可以勾起大家民眾對於我哋民族嘅一啲自豪感啊。
The book originally and the film even more so, it's not really about war. It's much more about people. It's not about battles. It's about the terrible effect that war has on families. Whether you're a Chinese family or a British family or whatever, it doesn't really matter. War just destroys everything. And you always think that when the shooting stops, the war stops. That's not true. Because the people who survive to that point, they survive for years afterwards and they never get over what happened to them during the war. And then their children have the same experience. Their children have to live with the effect of war. Where when your father didn't come home because he's dead, or your father comes home but he has severe mental trauma, that impact lasts for years, decades, 80 years after the war. So I think this is what people should take from this story. It's not about war, it's about families, and it's about the impact of war on families.